President, today we meet at the center of a great debate, at a crossroads that will determine the direction of the country for another generation. And this debate, this choice, goes to the heart of a central question that has been plaguing families in America over the last 3 decades, but that is now just coming to the forefront. And that question is this: if you are working hard in America, can you still earn a good living for yourself and your family? If you are working hard in America, can you still buy a home or pay your rent, buy your food and medicine, get the health care you need, afford fuel for your car, get a decent education, or go on a family vacation? And if the answer is no, and for all too many millions of people the answer is no, what do we do about it? When I was a kid, my father was in the clothing business. He was a traveling salesman, and he made $18,000 a year. On the strength of that single income, my parents bought our first home for $18,000. He made $18,000 a year, and he bought a home. My parents bought a home for $18,000. It was the American dream, and it came true for our family. Today, I'm a U.S. Senator. That, too, is part of the American dream, that anything is possible in this country. But could anyone buy a home for the cost of the annual income, even of a U.S. Senator? Not a chance in the world. An average home in California costs 3 or 4 times that much. My kids are paying thousands and thousands of dollars a month in rent. Could they find a home for the cost of their annual income? There is even less of a chance of that. And what about your grandkids? At the rate we are going, at the rate housing prices are rising, what chance will they have to afford a home at any income? And of course, it's not just a home. Healthcare costs are rising even faster. Millions of families are only one healthcare crisis away from failing. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They are working hard, harder than ever, and they can't keep pace with rising premiums, out-of-pocket costs, hospital stays, drug costs, and charges at the emergency room. Energy prices are going up. It costs more to heat your home in the winter and a lot more to cool your home in the summer. Utility bills have been rising by double digits, while incomes have remained comparatively flat. It's too much. It's too much. Now, why is this coming to a head now? Why, when we're not in a Great Depression, not even a Great Recession, although with Trump's destructive tariff wars, we may get there soon enough, why now? Why now is this coming to a head? And the answer is that people feel more squeezed than ever, more pressure than ever, more like a failure than ever because they're doing their best, working their hardest, and they are still hanging by a thread. And you know something? It's not their fault. It's not their fault. They are doing everything they can to provide for their families, and it's just not enough. It's not their fault, but it is someone's fault. It is someone's responsibility. There is someone who should be held accountable for the fact that this generation is the first to renege on a compact between generations that we would leave the country better off to the next generation than the one that came before. And you know who that someone is? It is us. It is us. The world has changed, the nature of work has changed, and we have not changed with it. We have not kept pace, and in too many ways, through our policy failures, we have moved the country in the wrong direction. And the question before us today is whether we continue to barrel down that track towards higher home prices, bigger health care costs, more hunger and greater hardship, or whether we change direction. Much too late, yes, requiring an even more profound course correction, certainly, but finally steer this country to a better quality of life for all of our citizens. Is this bill that change in direction? Does it lead our country on a new path towards affordability and prosperity? And the answer, the simple, terrible, but clear as day answer is no. It most emphatically does not. No, it does nothing to bring down costs. No, it does nothing to make it easier for your kids or mine to buy a house, pay their rent, buy groceries, afford their medicine, or fill up the car for a family vacation. Instead, it throws more coal in the engine, barreling down a track to nowhere. Donald Trump promised he wouldn't cut Medicaid, but this bill cuts hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicaid. It is shredding the president's commitment made again and again. In January, the president said Republicans will love and cherish Medicaid. In February, he said, we're not going to touch it. Even a few weeks ago, the president said, we're not changing Medicaid, we're leaving it. But we see in the black and white in this text they released in the dark of night that simply isn't true. This bill will result in millions losing their health care from cuts to Medicaid. We know that. The Republicans know that. Tom Tillis has made this point over and over again tonight, as have other Republicans in this body. This bill will close down hospitals in the poorest counties and states. It will raise health care costs for families everywhere and by the thousands of dollars. It takes food away from the hungry. It kills clean energy so that we have to rely on oil and gas for everything, enriching that industry and impoverishing the rest of us with higher prices at the pump. It raises taxes on working families and the middle class while lowering taxes on the very wealthy and corporations. If you are in the top 0.1% of income earners making more than $5 million a year, you will get a $346,000 tax cut. How is that fair? How is that right? And it borrows the money from our kids to pay for that $346,000 tax cut, to pay for the habits of really rich people. Where is the fairness, the morality in that? When is enough enough? My father was part of the greatest generation. We, it would appear, are part of the most selfish. And I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up with it. What happened to any sense of responsibility in this generation? What happened to love of country? Can we love our country and impoverish it? Can we love our children and grandchildren if we take from them only to give to ourselves? In this bill, we borrowed trillions from our kids. And for what? So the rich can have a bigger boat? So corporate CEOs can have more money? So a company can buy back more of its stock? So we can be richer than our neighbor while his neighbor has no home at all? The test of our progress, Franklin Roosevelt said in 1937, is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. Last week, a landscaper in Los Angeles was tackled to the ground because he was undocumented. He's the father of 3 Marines. 3 Marines. When one of those Marines was finally able to speak to his father after his detention, he had one ask of his son: please go back to the work site and finish the job. That was his ask. That is the work ethic that has made this country great, not the ethic that brought him to the ground. Raising 3 Marines, that is the patriotism that has made this country great, not the rancor that beat him while he lay there. But if this bill is not the answer, and it most certainly is not, if this bill only makes matters worse, far worse, then what is the answer? What direction shall we go? How can we begin to make the country work for people once again? Well, we can give instead of take. We can build instead of tear down. We can recapture once again the sense of possibility in this country. If Eisenhower was part of the generation that won the war and built the roads and highways, let us be the generation that wins the peace by creating the next giant boom in housing in America, making the investment necessary, tapping into the great potential of the government and industry working together, breaking down each obstacle in the way, millions and millions of new homes that my children can afford and your children. Let us build new hospitals instead of closing them down, and in so doing, bring the cost of health care down with them. Let us train new doctors and nurses so it is not so expensive to visit them, and new home health care workers to take care of us even as we take care of them. Let us grow more food and feed more people at home and abroad and bring down the cost of our groceries. Let us thank our farm workers instead of chasing them through the fields to separate them from those they love. None of this is beyond our capacity. It may mean that we can't afford yet another tax break for the wealthy, or a giveaway to the oil industry, or a giveaway to any other industry and its corporate titans. It may call for some sacrifice on our part, but a fraction of what our parents and grandparents gave to this country. It means that we pay more attention to our kids and their needs and less our own, that we once again show concern and compassion for our neighbor, and remember that we were once strangers in a strange land, that we show humility about our own achievements and recognize that none of us got here on our own, that all of us can prosper without someone else being made to suffer. You know, the way it used to be, the way it could be once again. Madam President, I yield back.